and the heart of a remote village named Eldenbrook, nestled amidst ancient forests veiled in a shroud of perpetual mist, lived an old man named Elijah. The years had etched deep lines upon his face, and his eyes held a weight that spoke of a lifetime of sorrows. But it was not the passage of time that had marked him. It was a wound that refused to heal, a wound inflicted by a tragedy that had unfolded 2 decades prior. Elijah's existence was one of solitude and seclusion. His cottage, perched on the edge of the village, had become a place of whispers and speculation. The villagers spoke of his daughter, Lily, and the gruesome event that had forever altered their lives. It was a tale spoken in hushed tones, for the memory of that night was one they wished to bury in the deepest recesses of their minds. Lily had been a radiant child, her laughter a melody that echoed through the village square. Her golden hair danced in the sunlight as she chased butterflies, her eyes alight with innocence and curiosity. The villagers had marveled at her, a symbol of the village's unity and joy. But joy can be fleeting, and innocence can be shattered. It was on the eve of the harvest festival, a time of celebration and revelry, that tragedy struck. The air was filled with the aroma of freshly baked bread and the sound of laughter, but beneath it all lingered an unease. As dusk descended, Lily's laughter turned to a scream that seemed to pierce the very heavens. Villagers ran towards the source of the sound, their torches casting eerie shadows upon the trees. But Lily was gone. All that remained were her blood-soaked clothes, discarded at the forest's edge as a haunting reminder of a life snuffed out too soon. The village, once a tapestry of joy, was suddenly consumed by darkness. The harvest festival turned into a mournful event, its music replaced by the haunting melodies of grief. Elijah's anguish was a weight that pressed upon the village. His eyes, once warm and kind, now held a darkness that seemed to swallow the very light around him. He withdrew from the village's embrace, seeking solace in his cottage that had become both his sanctuary and his prison. It was within these walls that he embarked on a path that would forever alter the village's destiny. Whispers circulated among the villagers, tales of Elijah's descent into the realms of forbidden knowledge and dark magic. The cottage, once a place of comfort, now exuded an air of malevolence that sent shivers down the spines of those who dared approach. Rumors of incantations and rituals, performed beneath the cloak of night, filled the air, sparking both fear and curiosity. Late at night, as the village slumbered, eerie chants would rise from the depths of the forest, carried on the wind like an otherworldly lament. Villagers would huddle in their homes, their hearts quickening with each haunting note that reached their ears. The very woods that had once been their source of sustenance and shelter now held an aura of the forbidden, a place where shadows seemed to move of their own accord. As the anniversary of Lily's disappearance approached, an unsettling tension settled upon Eldenbrook. The air grew heavy with anticipation, a sense of foreboding that hung like a storm cloud. Some believed that Elijah's actions had awakened an ancient evil within the woods, while others dismissed it as superstitious nonsense. Yet, despite the skepticism, fear had taken root in the hearts of the villagers. On the eve of the anniversary, a blood-red moon hung low in the sky, casting an eerie crimson glow upon the village. The wind whispered through the trees, its mournful howl an unsettling accompaniment to the villagers' uneasy thoughts. Doors were locked, windows were shuttered, and families clung to one another, seeking solace in their unity. Within the heart of the woods, Elijah's cottage was illuminated by an unnatural light, its walls seemingly aglow with an otherworldly energy. The room within was adorned with symbols and artifacts that spoke of a desperation bordering on madness. At the center of it all was Elijah himself, standing before an ancient altar, his voice rising in a haunting chant that seemed to beckon forces beyond mortal comprehension. As if in response to his plea, a gust of wind swept through the room, extinguishing the candles that lined the altar. Darkness enveloped the space, broken only by the pale light of the moon filtering through the windows. And then a voice that seemed to emerge from the very shadows themselves, spoke with a chilling certainty. "Your wish shall be granted, but the price shall be steep." Elijah's heart raced within his chest, his breath quickening as he struggled to comprehend the weight of those words. And then, from the darkness, a figure began to materialize, a twisted, nightmarish semblance of his beloved Lily. Her once angelic face was contorted into a grotesque mask, her eyes vacant voids that seemed to swallow the very essence of his being. Terror seized Elijah's heart as he realized the gravity of his folly. This was not the reunion he had yearned for. It was a perversion of all that was pure and sacred. Lily's form emanated a malevolence that sent shivers down his spine, and her voice, a mockery of the sweet sound he remembered, whispered promises of revenge and retribution. As the night wore on, the village was gripped by an unseen force. Shadows danced through the streets, and whispers of long-forgotten curses filled the air, their words mingling with the mournful cries of the wind. The villagers remained hidden within their homes, their faces etched with fear, as the boundaries between the living and the dead blurred into a horrifying tapestry. Elijah's insatiable quest for revenge had unleashed an unrelenting evil upon the village. The very woods that had once offered solace and protection had transformed into a malevolent entity, a force that sought to consume all in its path. The air was thick with an oppressive energy, and the villagers found themselves ensnared in a nightmare from which there seemed to be no escape. As dawn broke, the village lay in ruins. Buildings that had once stood strong were reduced to rubble, their foundations shaken by the relentless assault of the supernatural. The once thriving community had been reduced to a mere shadow of its former self, a haunting reminder of the consequences of tampering with forces beyond human comprehension. And as for Elijah, he was nowhere to be found. Some whispered that he had been consumed by the very forces he had summoned, a victim of his own insatiable thirst for vengeance. Others believed that he still roamed the woods, a tormented soul trapped between the realms of the living and the dead, forever haunted by the consequences of his actions. The horror of Elijah's tale served as a chilling reminder that the pursuit of revenge can transform even the noblest of intentions into a nightmare beyond imagination. It stood as a stark cautionary tale, a reminder that some doors are better left unopened, and that the cost of vengeance is often far greater than one can fathom. In the end, Eldenbrook's story was a testament to the power of darkness, a cautionary tale for those who dared tread where they should not. Years passed, and Eldenbrook's memory became a whispered legend, a story passed down through generations as a chilling reminder of the dangers that lurk in the shadows. The village remained a place haunted by both its past and the ominous woods that bordered it, its buildings standing as silent witnesses to the horrors that had befallen it. But legends have a way of evolving over time, and as the years went by, a sense of hope began to weave its way into the fabric of the tale. Eldenbrook's story became a parable of the human spirit's resilience, a testament to the power of unity and the strength found in facing one's own darkness. Perhaps it was fate, or perhaps it was the universe's way of righting a wrong, but one day, a stranger arrived at the edge of Eldenbrook. His name was Isaac, a man with haunted eyes and a past that seemed to mirror the village's tragedy. He had heard whispers of Eldenbrook's history and had come seeking answers. A journey that would unknowingly set into motion a series of events that would change the village's fate forever. Isaac's presence stirred unease among the villagers, their wounds still fresh from the horrors of years past. Whispers of the village's darkest hour began to circulate once more, as if the stranger's arrival had peeled back the layers of time and exposed the raw scars that lay beneath. Villagers eyed him warily, their faces a mixture of curiosity and trepidation, unsure of the role he might play in their fragile existence. As Isaac began to explore the village and its surroundings, he sensed the weight of the secrets that hung in the air, an invisible burden that had taken root in the hearts of the villagers. He felt their gaze upon him, a mixture of curiosity, suspicion, and something else, an underlying hope that perhaps he held the key to unraveling the mysteries that had haunted them for so long. In his quest for answers, Isaac's path led him to the outskirts of Eldenbrook, where the ruins of Elijah's cottage still stood as a haunting monument to the past. He ventured inside cautiously, the air heavy with the weight of memories long buried. The cottage was a world frozen in time, its walls scarred by the events that had transpired within. It was within these walls that Isaac's search bore fruit. Among the remnants of Elijah's belongings, he discovered a weathered book, a tome filled with cryptic symbols and incantations that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. As he delved into its pages, Isaac found himself drawn into a narrative that spanned the divide between the living and the dead, a tale of grief, vengeance, and the unimaginable consequences of tampering with forces beyond human comprehension. The more Isaac read, the more he realized that the village's suffering was not merely a product of Elijah's actions. It was a collective manifestation of the darkness that had seeped into their lives. The darkness was a mirror that reflected the villagers' own fears, doubts, and guilt. Emotions that had festered in the shadows and manifested in ways they could not have foreseen. With each page he turned, Isaac's resolve solidified. He recognized the importance of confronting the truth, of shedding light on the buried secrets that had plagued Eldenbrook for far too long. It was a journey fraught with uncertainty, a path that might lead to redemption or further catastrophe. But it was a journey he felt compelled to undertake. Isaac's inquiries led him to the village elders, the guardians of Eldenbrook's history. With a heart heavy with the weight of the knowledge he had uncovered, he shared with them the story that had unfolded within the pages of the book. He implored them to confront their fears, to acknowledge the events that had transpired, and to recognize their role in perpetuating the curse that had befallen the village. The elders, though initially skeptical, recognized the wisdom in Isaac's words. They understood that the village's suffering was not the result of a single individual's actions, but a collective wound that required collective healing. With heavy hearts, they agreed to summon the villagers for a gathering, an assembly that would force them to confront the darkness they had allowed to fester for far too long. Under the light of a full moon, the villagers gathered in the village square, their faces illuminated by the soft glow. Isaac stood before them, his voice steady and his gaze resolute. He recounted the tale that had been hidden for years. The story of Lily's disappearance, Elijah's descent into darkness, and the subsequent horrors that had befallen Eldenbrook. As Isaac spoke, a hushed realization spread through the crowd. The villagers understood that their silence had been a breeding ground for the darkness, their denial a shield that had inadvertently fed the malevolent forces that sought to consume them. And in that moment, a transformation began, a shift from fear to unity, from denial to acceptance. With renewed determination, the villagers made a pact. They vowed to honor the memory of Lily, to confront the shadows that had haunted them for so long, and to break the cycle of vengeance that had ensnared them. They recognized that by facing the darkness within themselves, they could begin to heal the wounds that had divided their community. In the days that followed, a sense of purpose gripped Eldenbrook. The villagers embarked on a journey of rebuilding, not only their physical surroundings, but also the bonds of trust and unity that had been fractured by years of silence. The woods that had once held only fear and dread became a place of reconnection, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is hope to be found. Isaac, having played his part, quietly left Eldenbrook, his footsteps carrying him toward new horizons. The village, once shrouded in darkness, began to thrive once more. Its streets were filled with the sounds of laughter, its buildings were rebuilt with care, and its people found strength in their shared history. Eldenbrook's transformation became a beacon of hope for other communities facing their own trials. The village served as a testament to the power of unity, the strength found in confronting one's own darkness, and the potential for redemption even in the face of the most insurmountable odds. And as the generations passed, Eldenbrook's story evolved. A legend that told not only of tragedy, but also of resilience. A legacy that served as a reminder that even the most broken places can find healing and renewal.